hear the rhythm, start to move.
Hi everyone, my name is Varia and this is Shameless Careers, a podcast about career change. Today my guest is Valentina Kaledina. Valentina started her career in journalism and PR, then was a co-owner of an executive search agency, then did an MBA in China-Europe International Business School in Shanghai, which is the #1 business school in Asia, and now is building a super exciting career in podcasting industry. Specifically, Valentina is a director of sales and business development at Castbox, which she joined as an early employee and which is now the largest independent podcast app with over 50 million users. And Valentina is also a frequent speaker at international podcasting conferences. Valentina, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to asking you questions about your career pivots and also for any advice you may want to give to people who are also thinking about career change and also potentially launching a podcast on the side.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's start from the very beginning of your career. You started your career in journalism. Could you please tell me how you picked this space in the first place?
I was trying different career paths and I was doing a lot of acting on stage and I was doing my music thing. I was playing piano and singing in a chorus. And I was considering something around this artistic space. And then at some point I thought, well, journalism can be interesting. And there was a girl at my school. She was older than me and she was freelance correspondent at a local newspaper. And I was looking at her and her career and her development seemed very exciting to me. So I thought, wow, maybe I can try that as well. And I was probably 14, 15 years old at that time. And at some point I just wrote something for the local newspaper, a little feature, and it was published and I was really surprised. And then I showed up at this local newspaper and told them, why don't you consider me as a freelance correspondent covering the teenage issues and talking about the culture and social stuff for the teenagers. And then they told me, yeah, why not? Sure, just join. And this is how I started. And I was there for a couple years when I still was at school and probably writing once a week, once a month. And I really enjoyed that.
And then you obviously did your degree in journalism. How, and as you were studying, you have tried yourself in both journalism and also PR. How did you find these experiences?
So later I got enrolled into Moscow State University journalism department, but then I was majoring in communications, in PR. Because I thought, okay, but by then I have been a journalist for a couple of years. I know how things done there, and I should try PR. And I also heard there is more money in this field. So at my first year at university, I think after the first term, I started my freelance work at PR agency, and it was very exciting, and it was easy because you use basically the same skills, the same skill set, but the purpose of your work is just slightly different, and you have to focus on the business goals because you always work for a client, and it's just different purposes you serve. And I wanted to explore that because, when we are young, we all want to explore this world and understand how this world works.
And how, now that you've tried kind of at that point both journalism and PR, what did you feel was a better fit for you? What did you prefer?
It's a great question because I was switching between these two at that time. So I did some freelance jobs as PR person, and then I switched back to journalism and I worked for a couple years at a magazine which is called Ogonyok. It's like one of the oldest magazines, and with great legacy and with great team at that time. And I really enjoyed that. But at some point, I don't know, it just, I was super open, and some of my friends suggested me to try a different job. And again, it was probably more money, because they always say, as a journalist, you can't earn that much, especially when you're super young, when you don't have any, if you're just covering very simple, if you're covering news or just some simple things. And then I switched back to comms, and then I was in comms for a couple years. I really loved it, and I had a team at that time. So I think what attracted me really is just faster career progress, because in journalism, you have to, at least at that time, that was my observation, you have to wait for a few years to build up your experience until you get to do some editorial work, some managerial work. And for many years, you have to be just a junior correspondent, and you have to do everything your editor tells you. So you don't have too much freedom.
Right, and comms and PR in that respect was more attractive because you could see a faster career progression in that space, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was just lucky because I joined a very young team. Again, it was weirdly enough, it was a lighting design agency. So, in very young team, very aggressive in a good sense. We were, again, building that business from scratch, and it was very artistic because we worked with architects, with designers, and I helped them with the communications part, helped them with exhibition activities, with relations with press, and it was just a green field, lots of opportunities, and I was able to hire a team for myself. So I had 2 full-time people working for me, and I was a big boss, and at that time I was 20 years old. Obviously, that was super exciting, and I mean, I wanted to do that, and I thought it was the right thing to do.
And you mentioned in one of our conversations that we've had before that you have always saw yourself as someone who is interested in business, and I think even in your family it has always been a topic, while maybe when you looked around in the journalism faculty, there were a lot of people who were passionate about writing, but not necessarily the business side. So could you tell a bit more about that? Did you already back then feel like you're more interested in business as opposed to journalism as a craft?
I guess so. Although I really enjoyed that artistic part, I really enjoyed being a writer. I really enjoyed being creative, but at the same time, what was really disturbing is you never know where the money is coming from. None of the journalists is, at least again, it was my experience back then, none of my journalism colleagues were able to explain who is paying for that and how we're supposed to earn money. Obviously, there were sales departments, but still, I think you're totally right. Journalists are really obsessed with this artistic part, and then when at some point they cannot do this anymore because the owner of the company just suddenly went bankrupt or has some hardship, and there is no money to pay them their salary, and all this craft, all this artistic work is very fragile, so it has to be supported. And I observed that, and it was very concerning for me as a very young person. And then I started to be very interested in the business part of things, and even switched again within the university. I switched my focus and I did my thesis on how studying the management models in media industry, what kind of management we're supposed to have in these media organizations, what kind of boards of directors we're supposed to have. And I started because I thought, okay, if there is a proper management in place, this can help media organizations being more sustainable. So I started to become really interested in that aspect.
Could you tell me more about your pivot into executive search? Because you were a co-owner of an executive search agency. How did that happen?
Well, it took some time, obviously. I think what happened, so I graduated from the uni, and then I had a student loan and I had to pay back. And my, again, friends of friends introduced me to someone who was interested in launching local operations for this executive search company, because that business was already present at that time, but only overseas. And I was back in Moscow and they had nothing in Moscow, so they wanted to launch locally. And we just met for a coffee and we started chatting, and I thought, wow, this is even more interesting than comms, because with this executive search part, I can really understand more about the business. And we started talking. It was not, it didn't happen overnight. So we started talking. I started doing some freelance work. And then I really, having the student loan, I think hit me at some point, and I thought, okay, I need to do something about that. I need to push my career further, and because I want to repay it, and I want to repay it as soon as possible. So, and then there was a client coming to this executive search company, and they offered me a full-time role, and it was very attractive offer. So I think it was many factors, played a role in this pivot. Obviously the loan part, and also I thought, okay, I have this great experience in journalism and comms, and then I can try this executive search business, and then if it doesn't work, I can always switch back. And yeah, this is how I started.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me more around how did you become a co-owner of this business?
So I joined the company basically as head of operations. So I was the first employee, and I had to build up the team, and I had to build up the client portfolio. And I started hiring people, and I started bringing more clients on board. And then probably within a year and a half, we had a conversation with my business partner at that time. Sorry, it was not a business partner. She was my employer, but then we had a conversation, and then she offered me to purchase part of the business and become a partner, to be more involved and to participate in the revenue share. So I was, I have never been a business owner. How does it look like? I don't know. I want to explore. Then I purchased 20% of the company. So I became a minority shareholder and a partner in that business.
And what was her incentive to do it? Obviously, the business is doing well. Why would she want to have someone who co-owns the company with her?
I guess it's normal for, if you want to drive sales, you want to incentivize your people. And it's normal. It's the same as in a startup. You're giving options to your employees to retain them for longer and to encourage them really to work hard and to bring more clients on board, to have more revenue. I guess it was very normal. It was very natural. And then at that time, I was really hungry and hungry for this new opportunities. I was working long hours, so I was really, I think it was a win-win kind of partnership.
Mm-hmm. And how was this experience? So you are now a co-owner of a company. What did it feel like? Did you enjoy this entrepreneurial part? What was exciting? What was challenging?
So one day you become a co-owner, and then you start treating this business as your baby. And this really becomes something super valuable to you. And you really focused on that, probably giving up your social life, giving up your personal life. Don't go on dates too much. So, because you have this and you think, I thought, wow, business it's cool. I'm a grown up yet. I have my own business. I can do something, and I believe in myself. I'm a hard worker. I'm smart. I can really make this work. I know clients like me. I know how to deliver. I'm closing these deals. Also, I was involved in the operations a lot, so I was a headhunter. And again, this is just entire different world when you talk to executives and when you try to motivate them to change their career and to come on board to your clients' companies. So I was. It was a very exciting journey. I think I absolutely loved this enormous responsibility, and I loved that there is no limits, there is no ceiling. I felt at that time there is no ceiling, and I can do whatever I want.
And what did you learn about yourself through this experience in terms of what you like doing and what drives you?
Closing deals, very attractive, very sexy. When you sign up the client, when you get a project, when you place an executive director or a CEO to your client's company, you feel powerful, you feel empowered because, and at that time I learned that I love this, absolutely love this experience, that I can change stuff, that I can help clients to grow their businesses. And I learned about myself that I can work really hard. And now I'm thinking this is not that sustainable. So basically, just to give you an example, I was in business trips pretty much every week because we worked with some clients with offices in some remote areas. I had a big client in Kazakhstan, so I had to fly between Moscow and Astana. And it's not a short flight. It's like, flying overnight to Astana. I remember it's like -30. And on a red eye, you have a meeting with the client at their offices. And I was doing this for a few years like this, living with this kind of schedule. It was, now I'm thinking, okay, it was like really crazy schedule, but I was having this adrenaline all the time, and it helped me to always move forward and do more and more and more. And, you close a new deal and you get this adrenaline, and then this helps you to move forward and to do like another one. I think it was, again, it helped me grow, basically. It pushed me a lot. And I didn't know where my limits are, and I didn't know how much I can do, and I did that. But at the same time, I think it was just a race, sort of.
And what happened next?
So I was in this executive search business for 7 years. I think it was a pretty long career, and I tried everything, and it was exciting. But at some point, I thought it's time to move on, and I had a dream. I had a dream to go to a business school. I had a dream to do my MBA, and I remember we were having a conversation with my business partner, and she knew that because she was MBA herself. And she asked me, "When do you think you want to do this?" And I was like, I don't know, at some point. And she was, "Tell me the exact time. What is your exact timing?" And I was like, "Yeah, when I'm 30, I want to do this." Because I thought, okay, I think it's like, if I do this later, it would be too late. And I thought 30 years old would be perfect for starting my MBA with all this background, with all this experience. I can really bring on like those. I can contribute to this learning process by sharing my own knowledge and experience. So yeah, and then I thought I would go for an MBA, and I started preparing myself for a business school, and then at some point I ended up in Shanghai.
Before we move to your MBA experience, can you please tell me, how did you understand that your journey in executive search is coming to an end?
I guess first, I repaid my student loan. That was a relief, but that was not the point, actually. So I guess in every business, it becomes repetitive at some point. So once you know how to organize the process, how to organize this funnel, which conferences you should go to find new clients, how to organize this headhunting process, and also how to close the deals, how to collect money, how to train people. It's also important, and I did that several times. So I hired people, I trained them, and they were ready to work on the field. They were ready for client-facing roles, and this was rewarding. And I thought, okay, I've done that. And then there was just really one interesting project. I'm a big fan of figure skating. And because in this executive search you have no chance that you can combine these two things. And at some point we were doing a talent development program for one of the clients, and it was about leadership, about team management, and then we wanted to bring some renowned speaker to this audience to talk, to bring a different perspective. And I suggested, because I'm such a fan of figure skating, I suggested to bring on one famous skater, Ilya Averbuch, who is silver medalist in 2002 Olympic Games and world champion. And he was running his own ice shows, and he's entrepreneur himself, very artistic. And I thought it might be really nice if this guy can share his artistic experience, his managerial experience to my client. And my client was in oil and gas. So it's like completely two different parts. And then I just suggested this very random, without thinking that it can be approved. And then all of a sudden my client said, yeah, we like the idea, let's bring him on. And then I reached out to him, and we developed a little curriculum, to talk to my client's team about leadership, about encouraging your team, about helping people how to grow your team and how to inspire them. And then we've done that, and I thought, oh my God, I managed to do this. I combined these two things that are important to me, my executive search business and my big passion. And at that point, I thought, okay, it seems like I've done everything. Like even my dreams, they came true. Now it's time to move on. Let's see what's next.
And how did you decide which MBA program to enroll in?
So I spent a really long time to pick up the right school for me, and I was lucky enough because I was traveling a lot on business, and I had a chance to really visit all the schools that I was interested in. So I was interested in like top 10 schools, and I went to Harvard, I went to LBS, I sat there in classes, and I talked to people, and I thought probably Western school sounds like not enough adventurous. And at that, for one of our projects, we were in partnership with Crotonville, which is the oldest corporate university. Crotonville, I forgot the name. It's like leadership school for General Electric, for GE, in Hudson Valley. It was, and we were doing this program together with this corporate university of GE, and I was there a few times, and at some point between one of those trips, I went to Harvard, and I thought, it's very similar. I've done that for work, and I don't want to do this again. Mm-hmm. And comparing to my experience in Shanghai, so at some point I also went to this China-Europe International Business School, CEIBS. I went there, I was in classes, I talked to students, and there was a business case they were talking about during the class, and I realized I have no idea what they're talking about, because this was business case about Chinese market, and I realized I have never heard any of these names. So all the companies that they were talking about, all these names, they were very new to me. All the business models they were talking about, they were new to me. And I thought, this is interesting. This is what I need, because so I was going for a full-time 2 years MBA, and I thought at that stage of my life, when I'm 30 years old, it's such a big commitment. And I thought, if I commit to do this, I need really great return on investment. I spend so much time on that, not even mention how much money you spend on that. And I thought, if I go to China, this can be very interesting from many aspects. I'm putting myself to a very different environment, very different circumstances. And I thought this is a great fit, because after this business school, I wanted to either be an entrepreneur or probably go to do something in creative industries. And I thought putting myself into this very different environment can help to boost my creativity or to open different perspective. So this is how I picked business school in Shanghai.
And what was this experience like? What did you learn from this program?
It was a mind-blowing experience. I could probably go for another couple of hours talking about this, because it's like 2 years of my life, very close involvement, because you studied together with it's an international school, but most of the class they are Chinese, mainland Chinese, and it's different business. The country that just opened up not so long ago, that still has this communist ideology, but also at the same time impressive economy, and they built this economy in such a short period of time. So the mindset is very different. The mindset is very much money oriented. I had like entire class around me of hyperachievers, of hard workers, and I thought I am very competitive comparing to my previous experience, because I thought, okay, I'm a hard worker, try to beat me here. But then still it was really hard. I guess, surprisingly, the most important thing I learned there is how to live as a minority. And I think that was, apart from the business side, this was probably the most valuable experience, because I grew up in a being a majority and not knowing how minorities feel. And then all of a sudden, I'm one of these few white people in this Asian environment. And you have to fight hard to be included. So, and that experience gave me a really great idea about how inclusivity is important, how diversity is important, because, it's when you work or when you study with different people with different mindsets, it really takes time and a lot of patience to convey your point of view, or to hear other person's point of view. So I think this was a lot about soft skills. This was a lot about how you build human-to-human connections when you're so different, when you have, when your cultural background, when your political views, when your views on life are so different. So I think that's probably the most important.
And looking back at this experience, would you recommend your friends to do an MBA? Or maybe would you recommend to some people to do an MBA? Well, for some people, MBA wouldn't necessarily be the right thing.
I have a list, actually, of when you shouldn't do an MBA. If you're having a successful business, and, it's better to, for many people, it's better to start raising capital and start hiring team. But I've seen this type of people, and instead of doing this, instead of putting all your energy into your own business, they got enrolled into the MBA program, and I think that was not the right thing for them to do. And I have a few other things in mind when you shouldn't do an MBA. I think, to be very honest, it's a big commitment. Because it's a lot of money, it's expensive. And also you cannot work for 2 years because you're so busy in class. And combine this two, I think it's it can be a really tough burden to have, all this, just looking specifically at this financial part. So, normally when people ask me, do you recommend me to go do an MBA? I'm like, yeah, dude, do you have this much savings? Probably think twice, because it's really hard when, again, you have another student loan and you have to repay it. I think it's really, it should be a very adult decision. obviously business school is very fun. It's fun, and it's somewhere you can really explore yourself, and you can get access to so many different industries. And I think if you're confused with your current industry, going to a business school and exploring can really help. So this is first thing. I guess one more thing is very practical. So while you're in MBA program, you get to learn about all the functions in the company. All one by one, you learn how the business is structured. And then once you have this fundamental knowledge, I think you are becoming much more employable for all the businesses, because you know how all the functions depend on each other. And if you do something in this particular part of the business, how does this affect the other one? So I think for the companies who are hiring people with an MBA degree, this really reduces their risks, because people who are equipped with this knowledge, then they can make really educated decision, very rational decision about how to grow the business. So I think this is definitely a great aspect. But yeah, so you have to think about this pros and cons, and also, again, how to pick the right school for you, which market do you want to work after you finish your MBA. So it's not an easy decision.
And how did you approach looking for your next step as you were doing the MBA program?
So I considered different career paths. Obviously, I was thinking that, okay, I have this experience in executive search. I can always do this. And I had my previous experience in communications, which I didn't want to do. And also I thought journalism is kind of attractive. And then I became, in business schools, there are different clubs that different clubs to explore different industries. And we had this media and entertainment club, and my classmates, they knew that I had this experience in journalism, so they suggested me to be a leader of the club, and I became vice president of media and entertainment club. And then we started doing all these events around media and bringing on people who were talking about new business models in the media industry. And because I was in China at that time, and China is so good in mobile internet, it's a mobile first society. They have so many companies that make apps, that make manufacture handsets. So all the iPhones are made there, and they build up all this local businesses. So I thought I saw an opportunity there, and I thought, okay, I think I kind of want to go back to my native industry, because my story in journalism, in media, is not over. I was never, when I quit journalism when I was in my 20s, it was not because I was burned out as a journalist, or it was never because I was disappointed. And it was not the case. I quit because I wanted and I had to earn money, and it just happened like that. So I thought, okay, and I'm still interested in this industry. I probably should go back, because I think probably this is where I belong.
And how did you look for opportunities in that space?
Same as, I was looking for clients while being a business owner. So you don't sit still. You go to every single event. You you ask all your mates to introduce you to someone in this industry, and you invite them for coffees, and you try to ask them questions to understand how the industry works and what companies are looking for. And again, for a business school student, for a MBA graduate, is you have to think what kind of experience you have and what you can bring on the table, and at the same time, what kind of companies can hire you, basically, and for which needs. And then my idea was very simple, because I was in China and I was looking at local businesses with local founders who were very ambitious and who wanted to grow globally. And I think this is what I wanted to offer. This was my competitive advantage.
So did you want to join an earlier stage company and see it grow, or were you targeting more mature companies, or it didn't really matter to you?
I think I explored everything in this mobile internet space, starting with the handset manufacturers. So I was talking a lot to Xiaomi, to Huawei, because at that time, Xiaomi, they had their own browser within their phones, and the browser is somewhere where you syndicate a lot of content, different content. And I thought, okay, I can be a bridge between this artistic part, this content part, and technical part, and probably build a product or an digital offering around that. So I was very open, because I guess it's also the language that limits you. And a lot of companies in China, they want someone with super fluent Chinese, and my Chinese was not fluent at that time. It's still not fluent. So I was very open, and at some point I just came across Castbox, and I think it was just combination of my hard work, going to all the events, and doing a lot of research, and then I was very lucky that we ran into each other and we had this connection.
And tell me about this journey, because obviously you have seen this company grow from like being one of the early employees to an app with 50 million users. What was it like to be part of this growth story?
It's another, I guess it's another challenging part, but also very fun. So I joined when it was a very crazy stage for the company, because Castbox raised another round of venture investment at that time. And we were building a lot of new features. And I remember myself, because I just graduated, and I moved from Shanghai to Beijing, because in Beijing there was an office. And I remember myself sleeping in the office. We had this, kind of puffs. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. And I was, it was like this, very hard work, especially, early on when you build a product and we have to test different features and see if it's working or not. So I think first probably a couple of years were challenging, but then after that, the app became a more mature product. We realized what is working, what is not, and just started focusing on what is working. And then I hired a team and I trained the team, so it was more stable and more predictable. And then I switched more. Again, my role has changed a bit. So it's been 5 years, so it's been another long career for me, going through various stages of this development.
Would you say that joining a company so early is for everyone, or does it take a certain type of personality to enjoy this type of growth?
I think this is very in line with my overall idea of going to China and seeing where my limits are, and pushing myself further and further to see like how much further I can go. So for me, it was a part of the journey, and I was mentally prepared for that. I don't think it's for everyone, of course. No, I mean, if you are in, it was a very typical startup when when your strategy is changing very often, probably every week, because you test something and you see it's not working and you want to test another thing. And this can be very hectic. And I think for a lot of people, it just you have to be okay with this environment when you don't have. You have kind of idea, but it's not set in stone. Your strategy is changing, and I think a lot of people, they normally want more predictability.
And looking at your career now, would you say it's important to be passionate about what you do? Or is passion overrated?
I think it's very sad if people work without passion.
And how about purpose? Again, another term that's being thrown around a lot. Do you think bigger purpose for what you do is important? And if yes, what is the purpose for you in what you do?
That's a great question. I mean, purpose, you can, again, it depends on if you are just early in your career. And then if you are later in your career, you can have very different views on that. I can talk about myself. I think coming back to this media industry, I came back equipped with this MBA and again equipped with my previous experience as a business owner in coming into that industry, knowing that it's a very challenging industry. Even at business school, they told us that media and entertainment is the field with the lowest margins. I'm not kidding. In class, they told us, if you want to earn money, media is not the space where you should go, because it's just pure stats. The margins are critically low in this field. So I think when I made this decision to join this industry still, I thought I know what is the issue here. I know that oftentimes media companies, they struggle to make it work because they struggle to find a working business model. They have probably, again, coming back to the beginning of our conversation, a lot of journalists, a lot of people in this industry, they are focused on the craft rather than earning money. And oftentimes they don't have the long-term vision for the business part of things. So I think for me, the purpose for me is to be there for creatives, be there for creative, artistic people, and help them to navigate in their journey and help to support them whenever I can, help them to monetize, help them to think about their revenue streams, help them to diversify their revenue streams, help them to find a sustainable business model. So I guess that was my big purpose, to be there for artistic people and to help them grow, because I think media and journalism, especially some branches of journalism, such as investigations, such as, talking about social injustice, I think those parts are really important for a healthy society. So, yeah, I think this is important to me. This is consistent with my personal values. So, yes, I guess.
Many people who are thinking about a career change may want to start a side project on the side, and some people may be considering to start a podcast. What advice would you give to those people based on all the trends that you see in the industry?
I think the one big advice would be just start and see if it's for you. The industry is challenging, obviously. As I said, media industry has never been easy. And we had, in this, specifically in podcasting, we had overinvestment in 2019, 2020, around the pandemic. We had so many deals, so many big players coming into the game with, very big pockets. So there was a lot of buzz. And I think if you want to try, if you want to start your project in this industry, you have to think, why are you doing this? Is it just because of the buzz? Or is it just because this is what your inner self is telling you to do? Is it something that you are doing purely for the purpose of earning money, or you are going there to explore yourself or to connect with people or to talk about the topic that you're passionate about? I think if it's your really inner passion, if it's something that you are thinking all the time, and if you have these ideas coming up all the time, I think you should do this and probably take just small steps, one step at a time, and see how this goes. I think if it's your passion, you should definitely go and do this, because I've seen so many people who never connected with their passion and who never had a chance to, try to find a place for their creative energy. I think if it's your case, you should do this, and probably don't dream about big money at first. But then I think if you find this connection, if all those dots connect, you and your passion, and then you find people who you can share it with, I think this can really work.
And can you speak a bit more about ways to monetize your podcasting project?
I think there are so many ways you can monetize, and again, I'm a big believer that you have to diversify your revenue streams. But since we are talking about those indie creators who just want to start this as a side gig, I think the first way to look at is to build a community around that, and then your community can support you. So this can be donations, this can be subscription, or value for value type of thing. But then if you create this real value for your people, for this community, you can rely on them. So again, I've seen so many examples. This is working. This can be because you're giving people value and you connecting with them, and they are happy to pay back. They're grateful.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned that's the first way to monetize. What are the other ways that people may think about?
Obviously, when you have a bigger audience, you can start thinking about selling ads, bringing sponsors on board. I think you should do that. This can be challenging, but a lot of successful creators, they are also entrepreneurs. And you have to be, I think there is no other way. If you are a one-man band or one-woman band, you have to do this artistic part, and you also have to do the commercial part. And you have to, at some point, you will have to think about where to find sponsors, who is the right sponsor for your content, what kind of audience you have, and what kind of value you can offer to a brand or to a company to bring them on board to be a good match with your audience.
Thank you. And anything else you would add on monetization side? Because obviously, if people are thinking about career change, I guess finding another revenue stream apart from your full-time job is a big consideration.
I would say any change, if you are thinking about a change in your career or you want to start a new project, it takes time for a change to happen. And normally, the most sustainable way is do one step at a time and explore and adjust along the way. So I think if you're thinking about a career change, you can, the best, I guess, is to start something on the side, because it's very unlikely that your new gig will overnight start bringing the same revenue as you're getting from your existing job. I think it takes time to build up your new expertise, this new revenue can take time. So probably give it a year or two. Think about this as a long distance. It's not going to be an easy and a fast track. So think about it as a long game.
And the final question, looking back at your career journey, your pivots, your experience with MBA, you going back to the media industry, what advice would you give to your younger self when it comes to navigating your career? And what advice would you give to others who may be thinking about career change and don't know where to start?
Okay, advice to my younger self: take time to rest and recharge. Because I had several burnouts later on. When you're getting older, your body is not that energetic anymore, and you have to find ways to recharge. So I thought, it's like you have to think about it early on, where you can recharge your energy, which activities or like what kind of entertainment or what kind of relaxation is right for you. I think that would be, my advice to my younger self. Because, other than that, I think it's been an exciting journey in terms of, all these professional changes and exploring. If you ask me about advice to
people who are thinking about changing their careers?
Yeah, take one step at a time. And it's normal. It's very normal to change career. But drastic change can be painful. And I think it's more sustainable when a change happens during a certain period of time. So give yourself a year, let's say, and try to explore and start doing something part-time, and don't switch right away, I guess, because it's good to have some flexibility, and it's all this takes time to realize if this new path is something that suits you, because this may not be the case.
And you need to test it, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, totally.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Valentina. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Subscribe if you want to hear more career change stories. Like if you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, be shameless.
Go, 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 go.